which SEC team does Saban's retirement affect the most, help the most, and where does Tennessee fall in that list? Thoughts?
My immediate reaction is Tennessee and Auburn, the teams that have championship potential, but also have the head-to-head rivalry that they've had to deal with in going up against Nick Saban. Georgia benefits because it's at the top and Bama's the top challenger to Georgia, but Georgia's already in the position it is as the favorite going into next year. That would have been the case with or without Nick Saban. A program like Texas benefits. Everybody can benefit in some way, but I think the teams at the top that have the most advantage to pull from this would be Auburn and Tennessee.
I agree.
LSU would be in that mix as well, as they're trying to get back to that championship level they were a few years ago and have been for so many years. So LSU shouldn't be discounted, but I'd, again, still begin with Auburn and Tennessee.
Yeah, so Josh, I agree with you when it comes to like competing on the field. You're right, LSU, Tennessee, Auburn, you brought up Texas. Isn't it clear cut, though, Auburn, once you add in the recruiting factor, though? Because, I mean, all of a sudden, if you're Hugh Freeze and you almost beat Alabama this year, and whatever you think about him as a person, and I always say I think very lowly of him as a person, heck of a ball coach, doesn't all of a sudden he have an inside track to get a lot of that Alabama talent that has really grown in recruiting over the past 10 years?
Maybe so, depending on what Alabama does with its hire, because Alabama still has a general recruiting advantage against Auburn. Auburn knows how to make things happen. That would be the history of the program, and that would be Hugh Freeze's history as well. So if you want to make the case Auburn before Tennessee, I totally understand why. I kind of put them together because I think that they're very similar as programs in their standing, how the jobs would be viewed in general when we talk about what are the best jobs in the SEC and in college football. And both programs need a little bit of help. I think Georgia has more obvious advantages. Same for LSU and Texas as compared to Tennessee and Auburn. Tennessee and Auburn both have championship potential. They have resources to be able to make it happen, but they both could use a little help. And Alabama being weaker than it's been, or weaker than it is capable of being at its best, I think benefits Auburn and Tennessee more than LSU, Texas, Georgia, which probably don't need as much help. So if you want to say Auburn before Tennessee, totally understand why, but I think it's awfully close.
Hey, I may be taking just a little bit of a left turn on red here, but I want to get your all's thoughts because you're about the same age. You're in your mid to early 30s. How you viewed Alabama as a program, because there were a lot of laughing stock stuff happened that, with prostitutes and receptionists and all. I mean, not just one coach in one offseason. It was bizarre. And I'm curious how you guys view the Alabama job. Obviously, Saban has taken it to another level, but how easy it will be for Alabama. Josh, I'm going to start with you, to sit down in front of guy X, that's my guy, whoever that guy is, and land him because I'm Alabama football. But you have to follow a guy named Nick Saban.
Following a legend is not easy. We have too many examples to count of that being the case. I think what helps Alabama is that the resources, the money, I mean, that's a lot of what we're talking about here, but the people behind the scenes to help make it happen, to make whatever you need happen to be successful is going to be there. I think Greg Byrne's a good athletic director. His hiring track record is to move swiftly and get his guy. Now, this is a different kind of hire you're trying to make as compared to trying to hire any other sport that includes men's basketball or baseball, which he just had to do. Football is different. I don't need to explain why there either. So I think they have a chance to get a great coach. And if you're a great coach, you can still look at this Alabama job and say, okay, I can do everything I want to accomplish there. Will I accomplish as much as Nick Saban? Probably not, but nobody will probably accomplish that much. Maybe Kirby, but Dan Lanning as an example, he's a very popular name to talk about right now. He's at a very good program at Oregon, but if you want everything you need to be able to accomplish all you want to, I don't think anybody's going to look at Oregon and say, well, they can match what Alabama can provide. So doesn't mean he will be the guy or that he would take the job, but that's why I still think Alabama can come out fine in this position. It's a drop-off. The only coach they could hire right now, and I would say there's no drop-off, would be Kirby. And why would he leave Georgia to go to Alabama? So there's going to be some kind of drop-off, but Alabama still can, and I would say should be in a better position than almost every program out there.
Let me ask you the same question, Caleb. It's brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler. Go to rickterryjewelry.com, rickterryjewelry.com. The fire opals are a Tennessee tradition. How do you, being a little bit younger than the guy on the other side of the screen, me, view the Alabama job, and if they can just call up anybody to replace a legend?
Yeah, so I've always said Alabama is not. There are only 3 tier 1 jobs in college football. That's Georgia, Ohio State, and LSU. And I do the talent base of recruiting relative to the competition you have for that talent. But Alabama is like just a slight tier below that with a bunch of other schools. I'm with Josh. I don't think it's that hard to win because, look, yes, Alabama was a laughingstock for a while, but they hired some of the dumbest coaches you could ever envision on a sideline. And Mike DeBoer still won an SEC championship in 1999. The worst neck to stomach ratio I think I've ever seen. But
okay,
still, long neck, wide stomach. Did y'all ever notice that with Mike DeBoer?
He did. He was an oddly shaped duck. Josh, the 3 coaches that are happiest after hearing the Nick Saban sudden news.
Well, all of them because of the increased pay that's coming their way. Agents are very happy today. A lot of that's just Jimmy Sexton probably, but the 3 coaches that are happiest today. Hugh Freeze, he's on that list. Maybe Josh Heupel. I don't know that he's in the top 3 of that, though. I think Brian Kelly, let's say that he's planning to stick it out, that he really wants to be at LSU for the next 5 years. Then he benefits from this. And then maybe Sark. Sark is entering the league with Texas in a very good position. Sark is on that list of coaches that will get more money. He was going to get more anyway, just took Texas to the 14 playoff. But Texas is coming into the SEC with recruiting in a very good position. They have what they need at quarterback. If Arch pans out, they have that for the next few years. And now one of the top dogs that he's going to have to try to knock off entering the SEC just lost the guy that's made it happen. So Steve Sarkisian should be very happy. Nick Saban helped get Sark to Texas, and now leaving could help Sark accomplish everything that he wants to with the Longhorns.
So we asked about schools that benefit the most from Saban retiring, and we both kind of said, well, what more could Georgia do? They've already got 2 national titles. I'll tell you what more they could do. If Nick Saban was not at Alabama, Georgia right now would have 3 national titles in a row and the longest winning streak in college football history, because their only 2 losses the last 3 years were to Alabama. So Nick Saban retiring turn Georgia from just being another college football dynasty to being the greatest dynasty of all time over the next 5 years?
Certainly.
What's standing in their way?
Certainly. And the reason because I'm a Cowboys fan, I saw that all fall apart because 2 dudes couldn't get along. But Kirby Smart loves Georgia because he played there. So that's far less likely to happen. So certainly I think that's a real possibility. I'm not going to throw out there are a lot of things I want to talk about with this Nick Saban retirement. I'm not going to throw out that Georgia could match what Alabama has done. I think that Kirby Smart is on that path. Now, the odds would suggest over time that he's going to get burned out. Most guys don't continue to churn at such a high level like Saban did for 17 years at Alabama. But I'm certainly not going to rule it out. Would you? Brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million Sports Treasures. Go to facebook.com. Follow them at Sports Treasures TN for their daily updates and the best sports memorabilia. North Knoxville Sports Treasures. Would you rule that out, that Kirby Smart could match Nick Saban's number of championships at Alabama? I'm not ruling that out.
I'm not ruling that out at all. Now, yeah, the question is, how driven can you be? Former president once said, well, we're going to win so much, you're going to get sick of winning. I thought that was a funny thing to say, but then I look at sports athletes and I'm thinking, if you win a lot, you can get sick of winning. And Saban always talked about this, Dave. The human nature is to survive, not thrive. So like once you reach a level, you just naturally, instinctually relax and, take a step back. That's why it's so hard to repeat. Does Kirby Smart? We don't know. Maybe he does. It's hard to have that drive to do what Saban did. over 17 years. It's really hard to win 2 and want to go win 3 and win 3 and have the same drive to win 4. Like, I feel like maybe winning 1 and having the same drive to win 2 is possible, but winning 2 and having the same drive to win a third seems really, really hard to keep that same drive. Honestly.
Well, you put yourself in just such another category when you win 2 in pretty much any sport, but in particular college football, where you have to get so fortunate, so lucky. I mean, how different. I was watching the pregame show to the national championship the other day, and Tennessee wasn't mentioned. They weren't on the video that mentioned just about every other team. If they win one more championship with a better team in '99, or upset Miami in 2001 in the Rose Bowl after beating LSU in the SEC championship game, you're remembered totally different. 2 compared to 1 puts you in a different category.